What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today, of course, I'm going to be talking about the interesting key point marks of Monday Night Raw, and even to kick off this show, which kicked off with them even showing backstage with the superstars coming out, like CM Punk. He came out backstage, but then also before that happened, AJ Lee was backstage with them, and that was pretty interesting. And next we do cut to the announcers table, which basically confirms that Braun Breaker has had an injury and he's going to be out for a little while. They said while he was training, but it was when he was lifting up the announcers table last week. So that's unfortunate for Braun Breaker. But Becky Lynch does interrupt while they're saying that, and then after that happens, she says a lot of stuff about AJ Lee, but about 30 seconds in, AJ Lee comes out and she says that if AJ Lee comes out and she says if she beats Becky, she's better than Becky, which is true. And basically, during this whole entire segment, AJ Lee comes out to basically ask Becky Lynch that she was going to challenge her or face her at the Elimination Chamber, which is going to be a pretty good match, in my opinion. So that's a pretty good W. Moving on is the Usos versus Alpha Academy. This was a good match for what it had to offer. There was one spot when I did think Alpha Academy was going to win, and I really did get my hopes up in this match, but the Usos ended up retaining the tag team titles, and overall this was a pretty good match, in my opinion, for what it had to offer, like I said before. But afterwards, Byron Saxton got into the ring to interview the Usos. Jey Uso is going to be an elimination qualifier, I would assume, not next week, but the week afterwards, because Jimmy says that he's going to have to win the Elimination Chamber qualifier in the upcoming week. Next, Liv Morgan comes out to pick her WrestleMania opponent after winning the Royal Rumble. Also, Dirty Dom is out there with her. So, of course, we're going to expect something really, really good with this. But before she can end up picking her WrestleMania opponent, the Women's World Champion Stephanie McMahon comes out and says that basically if Liv chooses her at WrestleMania, Stephanie's going to beat her at WrestleMania, and she proceeds that by slapping Dominic Mysterio. I knew something was going to happen with Dom. Also, him getting scared by the pyro was really, really funny, and I do think that they should do that for the next upcoming weeks, because I really did think that was fun and funny in its own way, so that was pretty cool. But next is Lara Valkyria versus Avinal versus Rhea Ripley. And Rhea gets a huge pop like always. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the match. Rhea hits a riptide on Lara Valkyria to get the win. Me personally, I do think Rhea should have won this match with everything going on, but they could have had more interference in this match with the tag team champions. Maybe they could have had Lash Legend and Nia Jax coming out. That would have been pretty cool, and maybe seeing EO and maybe even Lara Valkyria get involved with that. That would have been pretty cool. But I do ultimately think that Rhea Ripley was the right winner to win this match. Next, we see Dom with Liv and Raquel backstage. We also see Finn Balor basically saying that he is going to make a name for himself. That's really all that I got with this promo. It was pretty good, but it's just a backstage promo, just a clubhouse promo. So it's nothing really special. Of course, after that, we do see CM Punk coming out afterwards, about to do an exclusive interview with Michael Cole. But before he can do that, he's interrupted by Finn Balor and says he wants CM Punk and he will beat him at the Elimination Chamber. But before he can talk even more smack, CM Punk does come out to say that he wants Finn Balor at the Elimination Chamber. Adam Pearce does say that CM Punk cannot have it his way and he cannot have a match against Finn Balor. But basically, CM Punk threatens Adam Pearce, saying that if he doesn't give him the match at Elimination Chamber, he's just going to be fighting Finn Balor throughout the arena the whole entire night tonight, and that would ruin his show. So he is forced to give a match at the Elimination Chamber, Finn Balor versus CM Punk, which I basically already predicted. So that's a big W. But afterwards, of course, CM Punk does continue his exclusive interview with Michael Cole, and he says that he is going to beat Roman Reigns and he's going to beat Finn Balor, because he doesn't care basically who comes into his way, but he's going to keep his world championship, which also gets a huge pop by the crowd, which I thought was pretty fun. I think CM Punk definitely will beat Finn Balor. I don't know what's gonna happen between him and Roman Reigns. That's pretty exciting to see. I hope CM Punk does retain, because if he doesn't, I think that's gonna be probably an L on the WWE. But let's get to the next match. And the next match, I wouldn't even really call it a match, because next is Natty versus Maxine Dupree. It's an intense and solid match. They instantly went to the outside, and it ended in a DQ. And Natty put her in a sharpshooter on the announcer's table, which was a pretty cool spot. But about 20 seconds in, AJ Lee comes out to help Maxine Dupree, which was pretty fun. And I think we might even get a tag team match in the upcoming weeks between Maxine Dupree and AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch and Natty, which I think would be a very cool match to see. But after the match, Becky Lynch does end up attacking AJ Lee and Maxine Dupree, which I thought was pretty cool, because it's basically just a cheap shot like the heels are supposed to be doing. So that was pretty cool. Next is Bravo and Rayo Americano versus Javon Evans and a mystery partner. You might actually be wondering who that mystery partner is. Well, it's the original Grande Americano. And if I'm being honest, this match wasn't all that hot in my opinion. So it was. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this match. Of course, the OG cutter off the apron when, I don't know if it was Bravo or Rayo was trying to go for like a, I don't even know what it was, but that was pretty cool. And the Americanos trying to take off each other's masks, that was pretty cool too. But there was really nothing else to talk about this match. Of course, Javon Evans and El Grande Americano, or original El Grande Americano, did get the win, which I thought was pretty cool. And after this, it's a video package or a vignette or however you want to say it between Opa Femi, uh, whether he's going to be on Raw and SmackDown. I really do hope he's going to be on SmackDown with more of the big hitters, because they do need that on the bigger roster. But also SmackDown is going to get Royce Keys, so I can't really be mad at which band they're going to put him on. But I do hope that WWE will push over Femi with whichever brand he's going to be on, because he really does deserve it, and he's really a big deal. Next is a backstage interview with the ring general Gunther, and really all he does is yap. Yap, yap, yap. But next week he's going to be in a Elimination Chamber qualifying match with Javon Evans and Dominic Mysterio. But speaking of Elimination Chamber qualifying matches, we have the main event coming up next, which is Penta versus LA Knight versus Austin Theory. Really, nothing was big into this match until later in the match when the Vision did come out, and LA Knight ended up laying them out like usual. But Austin Theory did try and get him with the 3 count. Penta got him out the ring, and he tried to hit him with a Mexican Destroyer, but it got reversed onto the announcer's desk. But there was the Mass Attacker that came out, and he curb stumped, which awfully looks like Seth Rollins. I'll say that, which curb stumped, Austin Theory and put him back into the ring, which LA Knight got up and hit him with a BFT, and LA Knight wins the main event. And he's going to the Elimination Chamber with Randy Orton already in it. And I think this is a pretty cool winner to have this match, because really LA Knight deserve it, if I'm being honest. But I think they could have picked Penta, they could have picked Austin Theory. I do think maybe Braun Breaker would have been in this match, and maybe Braun Breaker would have won. But I do think it would have also worked out better for Braun Breaker and the Seth Rollins storyline if that would have happened. But overall, this was a pretty good episode of Monday Night Raw, and I have to say that WWE did really cook on this one. I gotta admit, out of all the matches on the card, I do think that something else could have been the main event, but it was really, really good for what it had to offer. From everything that happened between AJ returning to AJ coming out and saving Maxine to Rhea Ripley winning the Elimination Chamber qualifying to Stephanie slapping Dom. I think overall everything on this Raw was very, very good. So without further ado, peace.